I remember when we started, Jane said, well, let's not ever stop doing this. Let's just do this until
we die.
Yeah.
And we can't do it anymore.
Losing a beloved show can feel like losing a best friend. Losing a comforting show about best friends can sting even more. The cast of Grace and Frankie loved working on it almost as much as fans loved watching it. It could have been a disaster, but it became one of Netflix's biggest hits ever. That was mainly due to the strong chemistry between all the cast members, especially Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin. Keep watching as Jane Fonda finally reveals why Grace and Frankie was canceled. Gathering the perfect cast. Much of Grace and Frankie's success rode on the connection between its two main actresses, Jane Fonda and Lily Tomlin, who played the title characters. A long history helped them turn into believable friends. Show co-creator Marta Kaufman says,
Jane and Lily not only grew into the characters, but the characters grew into them. They already had a close relationship. They'd been friends since 9 to 5. And a nice, really nice relationship. They're crazy about each other. They love each other. They give each other a lot of shit, all with love.
They weren't the only cast members who ended up having great chemistry. The husbands also had a believable connection. As Martin Sheen, who played Robert, said,
Sam makes it possible and easy and very, very pleasant.
Sam Waterston, who played Saul, feels the same way. Martin also makes working easier. He said,
Martin brings joy with him every morning. And so things that might be awkward or hard or difficult or strange to do are just infinitely easy to do because it's him.
Everyone on the team did their job perfectly. It was the perfect mix that made the show work. Becoming a success. The success of Grace and Frankie surprised everyone. One of the things they were most surprised by was how much viewers connected with the characters. The longevity of the show was also shocking. Grace and Frankie was different from everything. Who could have expected it to be a hit? Co-creator Marta said,
We were hoping for a few seasons, and we miraculously ended up being the longest running series on Netflix, which is amazing and kind of unfathomable. Like I said, you don't go into it thinking that's what you're going to accomplish.
What is Grace and Frankie really about? Grace and Frankie is about two senior women, Grace and Frankie. They have opposite personalities and only tolerate each other because of their husbands, Robert and Saul, working together at a law firm. That all changes one day when both men leave them, not for other women, but for each other. Grace and Frankie have no choice but to work together to stitch back what's left of their lives and become friends in the process. That's only the elevator pitch, though. The primary theme is the power of love and how it can help you overcome anything. Also, Marta said,
The truth is, the show is really about starting your life over at any point. And that's what we discovered in trying to come up with what the show was. Part of what was so important was these are two very different women going through the same thing. And I think what that does is sort of, it touches a lot of people, says you don't have to be this or that to go through this.
How every storyline ended. The showrunners managed to find satisfying ways to wrap up everyone's storylines. Going any further would have been redundant and risky. And anyone who hasn't seen the finale may want to get caught up before watching the rest of this video. Grace and Frankie. Grace takes a moment to look inside herself in the finale. She finds various ways to deal with the inner demons that have been chasing her the whole time. One is when she finds her ex-husband Nick's memoir. He writes that marrying Grace was the worst mistake he ever made. She's upset at first, but she realizes they'd always been unhappy together and accepts it. Grace also reconnects with family members she's been avoiding. She meets up with her brother Jeffrey, whom she hadn't spoken to in almost 20 years. She even confronts long-held fears. A fear of the ocean had haunted her through the entire series, but was never explained. It's shown in the finale that her father nearly drowned in the ocean, and she was so traumatized she never wanted to go near the water again. She manages to overcome this after meeting up with her brother. Frankie's focused on dealing with inner demons too, especially a fear of mortality and leaving a legacy. She's afraid she's going to die in 7 days and holds a fake funeral to see what kinds of eulogies her family and friends would give. All of them mention Grace, which leaves Frankie feeling unimportant. That's not the only thing. Her arthritis has gotten so painful she can't keep up with her passion for painting. That only adds to her fears of unimportance. The duo's journey has a dramatic end. Grace and Frankie talk about their struggles and embrace. Unfortunately, that triggers them both to get shocked by Frankie's microphone. In a surprise 9 to 5 reunion, they go to heaven and meet an angel played by Dolly Parton. They beg to go back to Earth together, but she insists there's no way. Frankie has to stay, but Grace can go back. The women give a final heartfelt goodbye to one another. Dolly's angel is so moved by the friendship, she lets them both return to Earth. They wake up closer than ever. Grace helps Frankie continue to paint by holding her brush, and Frankie helps Grace overcome her fear of the ocean. Robert and Saul. Robert's memory loss had progressively gotten worse through the series. By the finale, it was so severe, he confused the first time he met Saul with the first time he met Grace. It becomes a serious issue for the couple. Saul worries that Robert will forget all their time together. All of a sudden, one of the best memory triggers appears. Frank Sinatra's The Way You Look Tonight begins to play. Robert's most important memories suddenly begin to return. They decide to focus on making new memories instead of worrying about losing old ones. Brianna and Mallory. There's one more important female pair that needed to have their storylines wrapped up. Grace and Robert's daughters, Brianna and Mallory. They start the finale at their lowest points. Brianna split up with Barry permanently. She's taking it hard, but he's thriving. Mallory just got fired from her job and is spiraling. Their journey resembles that of Grace and Frankie's. They have different personalities, but eventually learn how to overcome their differences and rely on one another. They even start a business together. Did fans like the ending? Did fans think the finale wrapped up the series in a satisfying way? Most of the opinions are split. Some feel it got too dark. Touching on topics like cancer, dementia, and near death was a departure from the normal comedy of the series. Others felt it worked in enough positivity to be dark but honest about the experiences real seniors go through. It hints that dementia could eventually ruin Saul and Robert's relationship, but it gives them a final moment of closeness. It shows the impact of Frankie's arthritis, but lets Grace hold her hand while she paints. Why Grace and Frankie was canceled. There hasn't been a single reason given for the end of Grace and Frankie. It wasn't an issue of dwindling viewership because it remained a hit until the end. There are most likely a variety of factors at play. Co-creator Marta Kaufman told Hello Magazine, quote, "It was a combination of things. Netflix isn't doing long-term series anymore, and we are really lucky that we got the 7th season. Money. One factor leads to most cancellations, money. It wasn't that Grace and Frankie wasn't making Netflix enough of it. The issue was the star actresses wanted more of it. They were reportedly outraged to learn that the male leads, Sam Waterston and Martin Sheen, were getting the same salary as them. They vented their frustrations in a press conference. Both women put out another statement later saying it was a joke that was taken out of context. They claimed the pay structure on Grace and Frankie was fair, and they were glad to work with the entire cast and crew. This probably wasn't the single factor that explains why Grace and Frankie was canceled. If Netflix had wanted to axe it because of these comments, they likely would have done so right after the press conference. But it might have contributed to the final decision. Problematic themes? Grace and Frankie also had the difficult task of dealing with queer themes. Not everyone enjoyed it, with digital media company MIC giving it an F rating. An article referenced sexual jokes that were in poor taste and said, quote, "The show's purpose is far simpler. Get 4 titans of screen together in a goofy comedy to have fun. On that level, it succeeds. But by including gay themes, Grace and Frankie has taken on the responsibility of being a queer show. On that level, it fails simply by not knowing what it's doing." The show also got close to stepping on the toes of other queer shows. It was quite similar to the Amazon series Transplant. It features a senior transgender woman coming out. An article in Salon points out how many similar storylines both shows had. The magazine also pointed out that it seems to pit gay men against senior women. It says the show puts the viewer sympathies so much towards Grace and Frankie that it almost forgets about Saul and Robert's journey and decision to come out. The way it handled queer themes was also unlikely to have been the only reason Grace and Frankie ended. It was a contributing factor, though, and could have made enough fans angry to consider wrapping it up. What Jane and Lilly are doing now. Jane and Lilly aren't leaving each other's lives any more than Grace and Frankie are. They've done 2 films since the show ended in 2022. One, called 80 for Brady, shows them joining Rita Moreno and Sally Field. They all try to get to Houston and see Tom Brady play football live. The other, Moving On, is a darker revenge comedy. It shows the actresses hatching a plot to kill a friend's widower because of how he treated them when she was alive. While there may never be another Grace and Frankie, it's great to see that its 2 leads still can't get enough of each other. What's your favorite Netflix show? Let us know in the comments section below.